Good morning. It's Coach G. I'm so excited to be with you today on the Miserable Teacher Forum. I am excited, as always, to be with you on this morning. It is second cup, and it is February 15th, 2025. It is hard to believe that is where we are at this point in the year. It is hard to believe that we are already at 2025, let alone that we are in the middle of the year. I am so excited to be with you today. There is just so much going on in our world, and more than ever, it is so important that we connect and tie to our principles of faith. And so that's why we created the Miserable Teacher Forum. This is a place for mid and late career teachers to reclaim that which matters most to them. Prioritizing their time, their talents, and their tolerance in order to live the life that they deserve and desire. And so with God, we know that life is going to be have trials, tribulations, but it's also going to have moments of joy, moments of enthusiasm, and moments to be with those that we love and care about. What we have for today, I always like us to start by going over Romans 15, chapter 4. And it says, for whatever things were written before were written for our learning, that we, through the patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. And so that is the foundation, right? We are using the scriptures to guide. We are using the scriptures to offer. We are using the scriptures to remind us that there is hope in Christ. This month, we've been talking about dread. And we've been talking about using the scripture, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, where we are reminded that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And so last week we talked about the power that we have been given from God. And so this week we're talking about love, right? So there are so many pieces of information out there about love, about the types of love that are in the Bible. We know that whole sacrificial love. We know that kind of humankind love, that friendship love. We know did I say romantic, sacrificial, humankind love. I know there's another love. I can't think of the fourth one, but there's 4 types of love that we know of in the Bible. But the love, the way I want us to talk today is around a good book. I always like to share a good book, and there's a good book that I'd like to share with you today. It's called The 5 Love Languages, written by Dr. Gary Chapman. I've been married over 30 years at this point, and when we were newlyweds, we came across this fantastic book. The 5 Love Languages center around the ways in which we show love and the ways in which we receive love. And so the author tells us that there can be a disconnect in a loving relationship if the receiver of the love is not getting the kind of love that they want, and vice versa. The giver of the love is not giving the kind of love that the other person wants, right? So we know that this love relationship, whether it's a love between parents and children, love between life partners, love between humankind, right? There's what I need, and then there's what you give. So when we, as newlyweds, started with the 5 love languages, we would read and then we would talk. And for us, that really worked well. And I think it worked well because we were still new, even though we had dated, we were still new in this relationship. But it gave us the opportunity to get the sense of, what did you think when Bob said this to Jenny, right? Um, and it helped us unknowingly to create the foundation that I believe that our marriage is on today. But one thing that I do know about the book is that regardless of if it's a romantic relationship, a relationship between parent and child, a relationship between siblings, a relationship that you have with neighbors, there's still both sides. And once you know how to play your part, right? And this whole idea of being a human, of being a part of the human race, and being a part of a country, well, first a continent, a country, a city, a state, a town, right? All of those things, that there's still this give and take that happens. I have a friend who was just telling this story to me about having a neighbor that insists on parking in front of her home. Now, some people say, what's the big deal? But we cannot assume that what you as a neighbor would be okay with is going to be the same as, um, the reverse of that. So I want us to look at the five love languages and think about how when we are in moments of dread, how those love languages can help us, how they can help us in moving forward, right? But when we talk about the five love languages, it is the words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts, and physical touch. Now, notice in this graphic, it gives us examples of how to communicate and then things to avoid. Now, when you read the book also identifies that you have like two primary love languages, and then all the others. It may not mean that you don't have them, but it would mean that they are not your primary. So, if a person is trying to love you, they would love you according to the love languages that you have. So when we talk about love and we talk about God's love, we can't forget that in Galatians chapter 5 is where God shares with us about the fruits of the Spirit. And it says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control. Against such things, there is no law. So, but we know that God has given us, the Holy Spirit has put these things in us. We have to activate what has been put inside. Did y'all hear that? We have to activate that which has been put inside. So when we think about um, what Dr. Chapman is referring to in the five love languages, we know that um, the the idea of acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, and receiving gifts are areas, are things that we see often, right? So as we try to make the connection between love and dread, my observation, what I've come to know, is that when I look at things from a loving perspective, it might change how I approach, right? So I put in our group how many, I know that some of you, I actually said, I know that every one of you have given an extension on an assignment. You said, I'm going to give you a couple more days. I'm going to give you a couple of more hours, minutes, um, weeks, right? On an assignment. As a teacher, that is something that we protect. We're not free with just giving out, um, you know, extra time and things like that. But when we choose to do that, because as teachers, we get to choose to do that. Well, we know there's times when administration says you have to, right? But for the most part, what we're talking about is that is still a choice. It is a choice to say, I'm going to allow you extra days, extra time, um, extra space, right? It could be that you're given an assignment and you say, oh, Professor so-and-so, you only gave us 1 page. Can we make it a 2-pager? Oh, we were told that the only way to turn in this assignment is that we have to write a paper, but instead, can I do a PowerPoint presentation? Whatever the circumstances around what task you're asking to be completed, you are still saying, I'm going to allow you, I'm going to gift you that extra page. I'm going to give you the opportunity to present what you know in a different format. I'm going to extend the time. All of those are examples of giving a gift, right? It may not be a gift you purchased, but you are giving something of value to someone else, something that that person will definitely love and appreciate. So keep in mind, that is what we're talking about in terms of God's love. He gives us love unconditionally. And when we make decisions as teachers, administrators, counselors, whatever capacity that you play, when we make the decision that we're going to make an extension, that is coming from God's love. That's not because you had your coffee. It's not because you're like, well, all right, it doesn't matter. I'll just give it to you. You are showing a form of compassion, consideration, thoughtfulness. In some cases, you're saying, I want to set you up to win. So I'm going to give you this opportunity. And we know that opportunities aren't always given. And so, even in the giving of that, we have no control over how the receiver of the gift will actually put it into play. So, when we have to give with an open heart, knowing they may or may not love you back the same way. While that's true, Dr. Chapman is saying there's an alternative, right? So, when we look back at the 5 love languages, I gave an example I said I gave an example of you as a teacher giving the gift, but there's also receiving gifts is that person's love language. Also, think as a teacher, sometimes the the young people try to take advantage, right? They try to um, take everything. They don't put into consideration that no, um, we don't want to give everything. We're not going to, um, you know, how do I want to say? We're not going to make it so that you don't put some skin in the game. We're not going to do that, okay? But as a teacher, what we are going to say is I will be open minded and considering, but I will put boundaries and considerations around that. You know, if we're honest, sometimes that's why we're dreading. We're dreading because we allowed too many opportunities for people to take advantage of our goodness and our kindness. We didn't set boundaries. Miss Green-Hodnett, can you come help me do my grade book? I remember a teacher. She was older than me. She, I know she was 60 something years old, and I was in my 30s. And this became regular. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Can you do this? And then can you do that? It has to be where, you know, you sometimes you say, I'm gonna just close my door and turn my light on, make sure make sure nobody even knows I'm here. Possible strategy. You say the person says, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I gotta leave. I'm not gonna be able to help. Possible strategy. But then you have to look at the big picture. If I've created this environment where teacher A knows that because I have a giving, loving heart, that you're going to continue to come and try to pull and tug from me, if I don't put some guidelines in that, then now I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling burdened. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling taken advantage of. I'm feeling disrespected. So, one thing that the scriptures tells us, I'm not a Bible scholar, but from what I'm recalling, it tells you to honor your mother and father so that your life will be long, right? But it didn't really give parameters for other people. It says just honor the, respect the government and stuff like that, but not more than Christ, not more than my parents. Am I going to um, go beyond the realistic boundaries by which I should? So I'm saying this so that we don't start to feel bad when we have to say to that person, no, I don't have time. I'm not going to be able to do that. Or maybe we're going to go to the administrator and we're going to say, um, Teacher A is often asking me to help her with her stuff. Can you see if somebody else can help her? That's why there are support teams in schools. We know that they're not the way they used to be in some instances. We know that. But we also know that the classroom teacher, the colleague, the department chair, the person that has their own responsibilities cannot do both their responsibilities and that of a colleague. So it doesn't mean that you are not living Christly if you are not doing that. You are just putting guidelines, boundaries, parameters in ways that you can. Or maybe you are going to be Christ. Some of us experienced teachers could offer new teacher grace, support, encouragement, help. Hey, during my lunch, if you want, I could come and help you out in your class, maybe for 10, 15 minutes. If you want to do that, it might be that you are creating and building a relationship with that younger teacher, and that teacher really could use you. They could use your advice. They could use your guidance. And then on the other side, you could say, hey, why don't you come spend 10, 15 minutes in my class with me? You could make it reciprocal, and you also could make it so that the person doesn't feel like they are less than. There's two sides to that too. We don't want the teacher to feel beholden to you, but we want it to feel like a collegial relationship that is filled with collaboration, support, encouragement, and fun. Remember that. So, when we are talking about the love that God has given us, there are those opportunities for those fruits of the Spirit, and that's love that we have been taught, that we have been given, that we have seen in other people. It's okay to apply those. And it's also okay to protect and preserve how and when you do that with people. Because if you don't, you could create environments where you now are dreading. You're dreading going to work. You're dreading seeing a person. You're dreading that your chosen profession and your work. So, how does, you know, not only knowing that we have love, but how is it that showing acts of service could keep me from dread? Think about those people, Mother Teresa. I love me some Mother Teresa. Um, um, Not Anthony Bourdain, Andres, the chef that travels the world, feeding people on uh, in war zones and disaster zones. He is serving. For some of you, you are serving. You are serving in lands that do not have resources that those who are even 2 hours away by plane have. You are serving. When you offer your time to stay after school and do study hall or work with clubs and activities, you are serving. Those are acts of service. When a parent says to you, I don't know what else to do with this child. I have done everything. And he says you're his favorite teacher. Is there anything you could say to me? Is there anything you could suggest? Is there anything you could do with my child? When you decide and do that, those are acts of service. And they're acts of service that you could give for free. Free meaning monetarily, right? But you're giving of your time, your talents, you're giving of your resources, sometimes the human capital. Hey, I have a friend that does that. Maybe I could connect you to acts of service, not always looking for your hands out. When I was little, I remember that the old folks would kind of make it feel like it was bad for you to want stuff, right? I think that what they're saying is, even Dr. Chapman, he's saying you could want to receive gifts, like that could be your primary, but it doesn't even mean it's wrong. It becomes wrong if you don't know how to give back. So are you the teacher, the administrator, the friend, the parent, the colleague, the choir member, the crafting circle buddy that never brings you on to share with the others? Y'all know we making blankets. You always come with just your hook or your needles, never bringing anything to contribute to the group. Are you the person that comes to the potluck? Hey, girl, I just love coming to your style. Never bringing a thing, never offering to host at your home. Are you the sibling that insists that you got it? I could take care of it. Mama can stay with me. Don't you worry about it. And then when someone says, I can help you, you go, no, 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 because I don't think she's going to like it. No, 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 because I don't think she's going to be comfortable there. No, no, no. Someone's showing you love. Someone's offering you a helping hand. And on the other examples, someone's always been offering you, but you have not been contributing. We out, y'all. Have a great weekend. Next week, we're going to talk about that last part. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but a power of love and of a sound mind. That's self-control. Y'all ready? I'm ready. Have a blessed one.